Welcome into this edition of Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. Getting the show started off, as always, with head coach Josh Blankenship. Chance to take a deep breath bye week. You get them early in the season sometimes. We get one early here this year. And talk about that. Is there a preference for you a little bit with having such an early bye week? Maybe gives you a chance to see what you've got early in the stages of this season and then going forward.
Yeah, I like where it fits, that bye week right before you start district play, which is what you emphasize with your team and how that's the critical portion to set up playoff seeding and playoff runs. Non-district, obviously you want to win every time you go out there, but you're really trying to figure out what your identity is. You're trying to take everything that you've done from spring, summer, preseason, fall camp, and now go test it. And I'm really pleased with how we came out of that non-district play as far as those goals of knowing who we are, finding an identity, improving our performance. And then the bye week, you kind of get to go back and reevaluate some things. You get to hit on a lot of fundamental work, and now seeing where we're at, you hit on some very specific competitive situations. We spent a bunch of time on good versus good, 2-point plays for the win, 4th and 10 for the game, 4-minute drill, always working 1-minute drill, but a lot of situational football that's highly competitive, in addition to heavy emphasis on fundamentals and things that we've got to go back and make sure we're re-emphasizing that can sometimes take a slight backseat, in the prep for a game week by week.
Let's talk about the offense. It was flying against Mustang in particular, for sure. Just as you mentioned, a chance to win the ball game late. You always like to seemingly go for it on the road. That's sort of the mantra for a lot of coaches as well, going for 2 there in overtime. But the offense picked up their game for sure, especially after a hard-fought game against Fayetteville where, the trenches really determined a lot there. Talk about your offense, first test on the road as well, and they seem to step up.
Like we knew, hostile environment. If anybody was there, especially on the ground level, it's, music's blaring, huge turnout by their community. Communication can be a challenge. Officiating's different on the west side. All those things we expected and knew, but going in and then executing within all that is still, the challenge. And I thought we did a really, really good job of overcoming a bunch of penalties, a bunch of behind-the-chain situations, 3rd and longs, even a 4th and long. The only thing I was disappointed in some of my play calls was that third quarter we came out and we kind of hit a lull at the worst possible time. Our defense had figured some things out at halftime and was starting to stone them a little bit, forcing them to punt, give us the ball back. We caught up and we took a touchdown lead. But I really felt like we had a missed opportunity to make it a 2-score lead, But other than that, a lot of exceptional play by our offensive guys, our quarterback, our receivers, running backs, and obviously our O-line and tight ends did a great job.
Yeah, I looked at, depth at the running back position within that game as well. Of course, having to go to some different bodies due to some calls, things like that. But Lawless, he seems to continue to show that he's not just, of course, that second string running back by any means. He's a guy that wants to fight for a spot, and he's a guy that's earning his touches for sure this year.
We kind of treat that 3-headed monster as if they're all one. So there's not like they're, obviously Octavian is very unique and very explosive and very dynamic. But as much as those guys have to rotate, we treat them as a unit. So Giovanni Castillo, obviously doing great things, and then our young sophomore, Kedan Lawless, busting through on that long run in the 4th quarter. Obviously, he's doing a lot of great things, but then to be able to finish that thing off and get in the end zone with guys trying to track him down and strip the football before he gets in the end zone, very proud of him.
What was that conversation like when you mentioned in the 3rd quarter, maybe a little bit of a lull on the offense? What was that conversation like with not just yourself and maybe your staff, but your players to maybe get out of that once you recognize, hey, we got to pick it up here a little bit? What maybe changed within the game that you noticed really helped get that game eventually to overtime and have a chance to win the ball game?
I told him over at one point I took responsibility for the lull. I said we're so good on offense that the only way this thing gets screwed up is if I call the wrong thing. I said, so I'm gonna start calling the right things, and we got to do what we've been doing the whole game, and then they did that. So, there wasn't a huge disappointment in productivity. It was just the opportunity again, and that's been kind of the theme so far, is taking advantage of opportunities when they present themselves. And so I own that one. Our defense figured some things out, and then I could have extended our lead. And they weren't just stupid calls. It was just something that wasn't either aggressive enough or just smart enough for the situation. And so that's where I got to get better.
Looking at the bye week, you try to work on details for everybody. You try to get guys healthy as well on top of that. What does the offensive side of the ball look like throughout the bye week this week? And, how did you guys approach that with, one, making sure you're ready for Owasso, you get that extra time on film, but two, just keeping guys healthy, keeping guys occupied and loose?
Yeah, it's a week where you're obviously not going to go bang for 4 quarters plus at the end of the week. So you take that off of them, and then practice, 2 of them were in helmets only, and it was a lot of just fundamental work, and you still want to keep them active, and you still want to keep them in condition. You want to keep their skills sharp, so it's still full speed stuff, but less banging. And then the banging that we did in pads, like the situations I was talking about, those are very condensed and scripted, so you're getting what you need out of them without beating them up for 2 hours in a practice.
Right, and on top of that, chance for those guys to do some out-of-field activities with each other as well. And just talk about that. I mean, that's a big part of the game of football, the game of any sport, especially a team sport in particular, is making sure that everybody kind of takes a deep breath.
Yeah, you don't have a whole lot of time other than bus rides and meals to do something unique, team building wise. And in that bye week, we started 3 or 4 years ago, started a tradition of, on that Thursday of bye week, we're going to load everybody up on buses and go do something really fun together. And we fed them a bunch of pizza, went down to an event center where they got to play games and bowl and play pool and laser tag and do that for about 3 hours. Players and coaches hanging out, and I think that stuff's critical.
Looking at, of course, the bye week gets wrapped up. We get Owasso next. We'll come back, of course, and we'll talk about the defensive side of the ball. When we do come back, not only the defense, but we'll move in, of course, to our player segments, and then we'll wrap up looking towards Owasso. We'll be back here on Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib.
It's an important score. Everyone is anxious to know. That's why our TTCU app can help you improve your credit score. TTCU Federal Credit Union. Life is better in balance.
For families who like to build their wealth while staying liquid, we have flexible rate CDs to keep your funds working hard, even when you're not. First National Bank of Broken Arrow. The right balance.
Welcome back to Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. Opportunity to talk about the defensive side of the ball. It was a fun one against Mustang. It just came up just shy in an overtime loss to a very competitive team out west, as you mentioned. Coach Blankenship, your evaluation or your thoughts, at least through 3 games on your defense, and what did you learn about that defense on the road for the first time this year?
I don't know if we learned it, just affirmed it, but Cole Lamont is an absolute beast. I think he tallied 20 tackles maybe. We've kind of turned the page already since the bye week, but was a man among boys once again. Our D-line, Gabe Manning especially, Josie Sanders, Gunnar Wilson, those guys had a great game up front. We started a young linebacker, Malik Ross, who was his first action as a sophomore, did a lot of good things. Secondary, we kind of rotated around some things. That we didn't play as well in the secondary this game, and our secondary has a lot of responsibility, not only in pass coverage, but the run support that they have as well. Learned that we found 3D linemen for sure that are going to be war daddies for us, and so was really excited about that. Was really pleased with the adjustments we made at halftime, and how we came out in the third quarter and really started. Stopping anybody on offense for 4 quarters is going to be hard to do in good football. But we did find some things in that game that helped give us a chance to win. So I was really pleased with that.
You mentioned something to me last week on our episode of Uncaged as well. You wanted ball pursuit out of your defense, and you wanted ball pursuit continuing to progress with your team. Did you see that against Mustang? And, is that still something that, of course, with the bye week, you want to make sure that you continue to harp on your team about?
You never stop harping on that. That's the secret to defense is you've got 11 guys flying to the football. And so freeze the film, once the play is dead, how many guys are past the hash if the ball's past the hash, how many guys are around the football, and we've got some measuring points to grade our swarm, grade our pursuit, and it was much improved. But it's never something that you stop emphasizing, and you've never really reached the ceiling on that.
Looking at that game against Mustang, did anything really in particular stick out to you? Maybe a sequence out of your defense, or maybe just an overall theme that stayed consistent with this group during that road game?
The good things, like I've said, we're finding ways to get stops off a really good game plan that Mustang had offensively, and I was pleased with that. We've got to still get better at situational football. When you got a chance to end the game on 4th and 10, and you don't, you've got to find a way to correct that. And then we did that twice. We'll learn. We already know the things that needed to be corrected, and how us as coaches could put our kids in a better position to succeed in those situations. But it's also the kids being in those situations is the only way you learn how to do it. So more games. There's no substitute for experience. So the more we play, the more our team is going to grow.
Looking at, of course, those situations, offensive and defensive. We'll take a break and we'll look at the offensive defense. We've got Colby Crosby and Kedan Johnson on the show today for our player segment. We'll be back with those gentlemen when we do come back on Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib.
Introducing QT Pay, the easiest way to transform every trip, every treat, and every gallon into instant savings every time you pay. All within the QT app. QT Pay. It just makes sense.
Hello, Tulsa. Shields All Sports Store is opening October 19th at the Woodland Hills Mall. Join us in the parking lot for the grand opening party at 7 a.m. with doors officially opening at 9:30. Step inside to the ultimate retail experience. Shop your favorite brands, meet our Shields experts, and enjoy entertainment like a Ferris wheel or Fuzzy-Wig's Candy Factory. Whether you love the great outdoors, sports, or fashion, Shields has something for you. Join us for Shields grand opening on October 19th.
Your side hustle keeps you moving. We'll help you get where you really want to go. TTCU Federal Credit Union. Life is better in balance.
Welcome back to Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. We've got our player segment finally here. Both sides of the ball represented. Kedan Johnson, wide receiver for your Broken Arrow Tigers, as well as Colby Crosby, one of our DBs. Guys, thanks for being on the show, of course, and opportunity to get to know you guys a little bit today. But we'll start with just your impressions of the season so far. You guys get to represent both sides of the ball, and just, let's talk about your own side of the ball each. We'll start, of course, with you, Colby, the defense this year. It's been fun having Coach Holly here as well. And what are your impressions of him and just your own play so far?
I mean, he's a great guy. I mean, coming from Stillwater and stuff. I know he's coached at Union and all that stuff, but I mean, he has the experience, and he's really taught us stuff that we haven't, learned.
I think, in my opinion, this team as a whole, the bye week maybe comes at a good time this year for you guys. Opportunity to get some prep here for Owasso. What does that off week look like for you guys? We'll start with Colby on the defensive side, and then Kedan, you can kind of share what that side of the ball on the offensive side has looked like so far.
I mean, film-wise for defense, I mean, we've been able to really perfect what we can do against their offense, and we watch film every single day. So I mean, practice makes perfect.
For the offense, I feel like we're just really just getting better overall. Really nothing much. We're just sharpening our fundamentals. We're just working on our fundamentals.
Yeah, talk about that. The aspect of playing the game right on the physical side and then playing the game right on the mental side as well. You have to have both in tandem. How much have you guys learned maybe the X's and O's of the game more and more each year compared to maybe growing up, just learning how to be an athlete in general? Talk about maybe some things that really have stuck out in your head about playing the game on the mental side.
I mean, for every athlete, you got to go through adversity. I mean, there's going to be challenge and stuff, and, you may not get it the first time, but, throughout practicing and watching film and stuff, you're going to slowly get it.
To carry on what Crosby said, like adversity, I feel like it's just how you respond to it, and it's not just football, it's being a man. In life, like if you're a dad, you're going to respond to adversity, and it's just how you respond to it, really. It's just in life.
Looking at the first couple of games, you guys have had a chance to play in front of a huge crowd, both nights at home, going on the road, first road test against Mustang. I always mention it. I hope you guys know what you got in a sense. It is a fun place to play football here at Broken Arrow. Just talk about the environment that your classmates and parents and just the community have been able to create for you guys early on.
I mean, the environment it's fun. I mean, once, it's slow at first, and I wish we can, start fast, But once, defense, you make a tackle or so, that adrenaline starts pumping up, and, the crowd starts getting up, and then the sideline starts getting up. And I think that's what really brings our team together. Once we start making good plays, I think that's what makes us, rowdy and jumpy and stuff.
Yeah, and of course, Kedan, you make a big play over the middle. This offense starts to get going at times. Just talk about the momentum that this place here at Broken Arrow, just right outside, can create for you guys as an offense as you move forward.
I feel like our crowd is I don't know, something you don't find around the United States. It's just really something special, especially our jungle squad. It's amazing. The student section, pretty hype, and then our stands are fully packed, and it's just
looking at you guys outside of class. What, I guess, would somebody want to know about you guys if they weren't just watching the game on ArrowVision, if they weren't just seeing you as the DB or the wide receiver? Is there maybe something that you really enjoy about being a student here at Broken Arrow and just going to class every day? And maybe what are some hobbies that you guys have outside of the game of football? I know you guys try to occupy yourselves basically year-round with the game of football if you can, but what are some things nobody really knows about you, things that you like?
I mean, I'm a half and half kind of guy. I am quiet, but I can be loud at some point.
Okay.
I mean, I love seeing my friends at school. I think that's probably the most important thing I like about school. And outside of school and football, I'm just a chill guy. That's it.
Here you go. What about you?
I really enjoy the presence of people. I really enjoy what I got because there's a lot of people in this school, and a lot of them are my friends. And so I just really enjoy everyone's presence. And then what I do outside of football, I really just hang out with friends. I like to eat a lot.
That's good if you're going to be playing football, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really it, though. Crosby, I'm chill.
There you go. Well, looking at Owasso, guys, this is a big game on the slate, of course. Talk a little bit about that message from your coaching staffs from both sides of the football going into a game like this and just taking a deep breath. Everybody's trying to get healthy throughout the bye week and get ready here.
They tell us, we're 1-2 and they're 3-0, but I mean, those are just,
semantics, right?
Exactly. But I mean, they tell us they are a good opponent. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be a fight out there. But they just keep telling us, what we practice today or the next day is going to how we're going to, reflect on the game. So we just got to practice how we're really going to play on that field.
I feel like, not to compare, but last year we didn't really have energy. We didn't have the culture that we have this year. And the culture that we have this year, we believe we're going to win. Last year we just went through our day, but this year we actually feel like we're going to win. Our practices are phenomenal, way better than last year. And then pregame, what Coach Blank says, he means it. I don't know, it just gets us hype. I don't know.
Well, one last question we have for you guys as well is you guys are in those practices together. What's it like going up against each other at times as well? And it's got to be fun on and off the field.
Oh, I know when I line up against Kedan or so, he's going to put everything into it. So he's not going to give me a half rep or anything.
Right.
He's going to give me his full effort. So it's fun going against that.
We do get to see you guys this Friday night. It's on the road in Owasso. Doesn't feel too much like a road game, just right down the road, literally. So thank you guys for coming on to the show, of course. We'll get to see you guys in action. Again, that game on ArrowVision. We'll be back here on this episode of Inside Tiger Football. We'll wrap things up with head coach Josh Blankenship as well. We'll be right back after the break.
Tulsa Bone and Joint, Northeast Oklahoma's sports medicine experts. We are pleased to help you and the athletes in your life with a number of surgical and non-surgical options. Tulsa Bone and Joint is proud to serve as team orthopedist for local high schools such as Broken Arrow, Owasso, Sapulpa, Cascia Hall, and Bishop Kelly. We're also proud to be team orthopedist for FC Tulsa. Tulsa Bone and Joint, moving life forward.
Around the clock, throughout eastern Oklahoma, we're devoted to improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends and neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
At Ascension St. John, you'll find advanced heart care, brain and spine care, and personalized cancer care. And we excel just as much in the things that can't be measured. Listening more closely, caring more compassionately.
Welcome back for our final segment on this week's edition of Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib, here with head coach Josh Blankenship. Chance to look at Owasso now for what is a big game this season. Message to your team, of course, not through the bye week, but into game week now against a team like Owasso. What have you seen maybe on film as well, where that message is sort of molded from that?
The message is that it's going to be a 12-round fight, and we need to be prepared for that. Not only physically, giving that kind of effort for 4 quarters plus, whatever it takes, but the mental focus, for 4 quarters plus. So preparing them for an absolute war of a game. It's another great opportunity, another test. But then the emphasis of district play and how important that is with that approach of going 1-0 every week. On film, we're very familiar with these, schools that are close to us. We see them all the time. So we know who they are. We know, we're very familiar with their schemes and what they do, and they are with us as well. So there's nothing really surprising. It's, I think I've mentioned before, I think their team's like a year ahead of us as far as experience. They did what we did last year, they did 2 years ago in playing, biting the bullet and playing a bunch of young, talented kids. And now they're all veterans, and they're huge and fast and super talented, but they've got a lot of game experience under their belt. So it's going to be a great test. Our kids are excited about it. Our coaches are excited about it. And we got to go over to another, it's the Patriot Bowl, but it's still over at their place this year. So it's another hostile environment.
Looking at their offensive line as well as their offense as a whole, Owasso, they've got a couple of guys, I believe, in the offensive line. One committed to Arkansas, the other OSU.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got a big front for sure, but also looking at Frankenfield, quarterback can sling it as well. What's that approach from your defense this week as far as you want to play your game, your identity, but at the same time, what's unique about Owasso that you're going to have to keep an eye on?
Exactly what you said. They're huge on the front. They might have the best O-line, arguably in the state. I would argue they're, at least on paper, they're the most talented team across the board. Offense, defense, they're big up front on the defensive line. They've got really fast linebackers and DBs. On offense, they're ginormous on the offensive front with some really talented running backs, talented young quarterback, and then exceptional speed at receiver. We've got to get better still at what we do. What we believe what we do stops what offenses do. So it's a matter of execution and doing those things for the entirety of a game, and then taking advantage of opportunities when you have those opportunities to make a big play, to make those big plays.
Taking advantage of opportunities early. We talked earlier in the show about how the third quarter against Mustang, that was sort of that opportunity maybe to try to run away with that football game, but on the road again against Owasso early in the game, that emphasis to have the offense clicking quickly. What would you like to see out of your offense early in this ball game in particular?
Yeah.
Just from a mental side as well as just maybe execution here is you don't want to get down early against Owasso, of course.
No, but it's a long game. So, yeah, you want to start fast, and we always emphasize that. We want to be great on first down. If you're great on first down, you're upping your chances of being great on third down. So there's no different emphasis. It's the same. I think we've been executing at a pretty high level on offense. Now you got to do it against a very stout and talented defense. So you're just upping the challenge, and so you want your focus and your effort and your preparation to match the level of the challenge.
Looking at the Patriot Bowl, if you had to sort of, give a message to a fan that maybe hasn't experienced it yet, what's this rivalry like from your perspective? Of course, it's been games that have been blowouts for one side or the other. There's been games that have been close as well, and we go back. It's been a bit since Broken Arrow's been able to take down a team like Owasso, and for those showing up on the road, the environment's going to be great. What's this rivalry like to you?
Well, usually it's non-district, so it's always been fun. They're neighbors, in the sense of the communities are pretty close. So even the visitors are going to pack out the visitor side, whoever's hosting it doesn't really matter. Both bands will be there; they'll be loud. There's a flyover. There's a lot of halftime ceremonies and events scheduled. So it's a big production. There's a lot going on, but the rivalries are what they are because the kids all know each other. And, there's probably kids that have swapped schools at some point. So they're very familiar with each other, and I expect a really good game. And I'm excited about the opportunity, mainly because our kids are.
Final thoughts here on the campaign so far and a chance to get back out onto the field, a chance to get rolling again here is, this is the bye week, but, you don't get those anymore. It's on to the next one in districts here.
We've got to focus on going 1-0. We've taught the kids and gone over how district play works, the point system, how important the seeding is for the playoffs, how that impacts playing at home or a bye, and I think our kids have a good grasp of that. And then ultimately the goal in district play is to get the highest seed possible, getting into the tournament, the playoffs, and then make sure we're playing our best football at the end of the regular season.
Head coach Josh Blankenship, thanks as always for coming on and being a part of the show. This has been an edition of Inside Tiger Football brought to you by Rib Crib. Game against Owasso this Friday. Make sure you tune in on ArrowVision. Just go to arrowvision.tv. We'll see you next time.